When people think of economics, almost everyone immediately thinks of Adam Smith, Karl Marx, or, if we recall from high school lessons, Aristotle, right? But there is a truth hidden in the depths of the Middle Ages, one that is not often brought to light, a truth that Western history doesn't really like to tell us. About 1,000 years ago, when there was neither capitalism nor central banks around, a Muslim scholar made a tremendous warning that is still voiced in every financial crisis we witness today. What he said was this: when money loses its moral compass, societies begin to rot from within. And when we look at today, we realize that he understood this situation much better than we do. We're at the intersection of money, power, and history. And rest assured, the situation is much more complex than it appears. To understand Al-Ghazali, one of the greatest minds of the Islamic Golden Age, we must first look at that era. Around the year 1100, Europe was divided poor and just trying to emerge from the wreckage of the Middle Ages. On the other hand, there was a vast Islamic world extending from Andalusia in Spain all the way to Iran. Cities like Baghdad, Damascus, and Cairo were bubbling with wealth, crowds, and ideas. Trade routes were filled with caravans carrying silk, spices, and gold. Scholars were discussing philosophy, astronomy, and law. The marketplaces were vibrant, the empire was rich, and this immense wealth was changing society at a very high speed. Right in this flashy period where trade was booming but inequality was also rising, Abu Hamid al-Ghazali appeared. Half philosopher, half legal scholar, half theologian. Imagine him as one of those rare minds who could explain both the purpose of the soul and how the monetary system should operate as smooth as butter. Born in Iran in 1058, Ghazali quickly climbed the ladder and, in his 30s, sat in the most prestigious academic chair of his time. But what made him special was not his titles. It was his refusal to accept the existing order as it was. When he looked around, he saw growing wealth and expanding markets. But he could also feel that something was going wrong. A society that was beginning to direct its compass toward money and losing the meaning of life. An economy that shone from afar but was rotting from the inside. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Ghazali then asked that question which hardly anyone had the courage to ask. What happens if a civilization becomes wealthy faster than it becomes wise? To find the answer, he immediately turned his focus to money. This is the part that affects the Western world the most. Ghazali was not just someone interested in religion. He was among the first to track and analyze money from a moral and systemic perspective. Aristotle had accepted money merely as a practical invention, and later economists linked it directly to mathematics. But Ghazali investigated the impact money had on human psychology and the soul of society. He looked at how money affected our behavior, our ambitions, our sense of trust, and ultimately the fate of a nation. To understand his perspective on economics, we first need to look at how he defined money. According to Ghazali, money did not exist for people to worship, hoard, or show off with. It was merely a means, an object that made trade easier. He compared money to a mirror. A mirror has no value simply because it is a mirror, right? Its value comes from what it reflects. Money is the same. The value lies not in the silver or gold itself, but in the fact that people can trade and produce thanks to it. This idea, which today's economists boast about by saying, "We came up with this," was being put on paper by Ghazali in the 11th century, back when Europeans still thought wealth lay in land or war booty. And from here he reached a brilliant conclusion. Money that is not invested and is hoarded away is dead money. Wealth locked up in chests or hidden in rooms is not just useless, it also harms society. Idle money does not move. It does not feed the worker. It does not fund trade. It does not become food for families. It clogs the flow of the economy. Ghazali defined this as freezing the blood circulation of society. Every economist discussing wealth inequality today is actually saying the exact same thing, but his concern was not just getting angry or annoyed with greedy people. He stated that the situation was systemic. When the rich hoard money, an artificial scarcity occurs in the market. Not due to a lack of resources, but because money does not circulate. Prices go haywire, markets get locked, and it is the ordinary people who suffer again. From here, it moves to another important idea of his. Speculation destroys trust. Ghazali hated merchants who manipulated prices, created artificial scarcity, and tried to profit from crises. He viewed such moves not as a clever business strategy, but rather as blatant moral corruption and earning a profit without effort. He used to say, "Whoever profits from the pain of others is profiting from corruption." And to him, corruption was like a contagious disease. Once it entered the market, it would spread to institutions and eventually to the whole system. When we think of the financial bubbles, opportunism, or crisis speculation we experience today, Ghazali had already explained them one by one 900 years ago. To avoid any misunderstanding, Ghazali was definitely not against making a profit or starting a business. He did not want anyone to retreat into seclusion and take a vow of poverty. His faith in trade was complete. He expressed that markets were natural and necessary. He argued that wealth earned properly could be quite noble. His issue was with fraud, lies, selling with short weight, hiding the defects of goods, and the segment playing with information. He knew that markets could only function if people had trust in one another. Where trust ended, the collapse of the economy began. In fact, he explained, in plain language without using jargon, terms like transaction costs, information asymmetry, or moral hazard, which modern economists express today with fancy words. And then there was the value he placed on labor. He said that striving and honest sweat honored a person, while earnings coming from where you lie and from manipulations corrupted character from within. His logic was quite simple. As long as people do not stop producing, society grows stronger. As it lives off the backs of others, it weakens. Ghazali targeted not only immoral merchants, but also the state. He severely criticized rulers who altered the currency. The kings and sultans of that period, just like today's administrations, mixed different metals into gold or silver coins to cover budget deficits, meaning they debased the currency. This was called tagish. This was actually taking tax from the public in secret, thereby causing inflation. Ghazali called this theft, pure and simple. This move shook trust in the market, tossed around the poor whose money in their pockets lost value, and ruined the financial system from top to bottom. The duty of the state was to protect the market, not to play with money for short-term interests. An unjust ruler damages the country much faster than an enemy coming from the outside, Ghazali said. And we must admit that there is no need to even explain the equivalent of this warning in the modern world. Ghazali did not make up these ideas out of nowhere. He analyzed them firsthand. During the period he lived in, there was political turmoil. Rulers were chasing legitimacy, and governors were concerned with collecting more taxes. And whenever a sultan felt power slipping from his hands, the first place he hit was the economy. Ghazali could see that corruption at the top flowed downward like poison. If the sultan could deceive his people, the merchant considered it a right to deceive his customer. When institutions corrupted their integrity, individuals also began to abandon responsibility. The result? a huge chain of distrust extending from the palace to the street. The point he reached was very clear. A society can endure poverty, but it cannot endure corruption. Economic collapses almost never happen because money ran out. There are no resources. That downfall occurred because that invisible bond behind every contract, every trade, every currency, namely trust, snapped. When trust ends, even the wealthiest state turns into a paper tiger. This is why he criticized messing with the value of money. Reducing the value of money was not just bad economic policy, it was a betrayal of the people. When a ruler plays with money, he is not being smart, he is slowly stealing from his own people. He even made a prediction. If the state plays with money too much, the public will eventually stop trusting that money, abandon the local currency, and flee to stronger foreign currencies. Wait a second. You pictured it in your mind, didn't you? Weimar Germany, Zimbabwe, Venezuela, Argentina. Wherever people fled from their country's currency, this scenario from 900 years ago took place. Today's world, intertwined with inflation, is experiencing the exact same thing. Money is actually a matter of belief. The moment you stop believing, the system falls. Ghazali's perspective was not just money and tax. He had solved human nature very well. People accumulate due to anxiety about the future. They speculate because they are greedy. They resort to trickery when they realize they will gain. They legitimize unfair gains by saying everyone is doing it anyway. In a society, the normalization of exploitation is the beginning of the collapse. His strongest observation was right here. You cannot fix the economy before shaping the incentives that drive human behavior. Laws, acts, and markets are important, but behind them all is a human being making decisions with their emotions, anxieties, and ambitions. Unless the system directs these people toward honesty and production, it is inevitable for the economy to eventually corrupt and destroy itself. That is why he cared so much about the moral dimension of wealth. He said that wealth without responsibility was a threat to society. Wealth was not a bad thing. It was only incomplete if it lacked a purpose. A society grows as long as it adds more than it consumes. Ambition for profit should combine with the responsibility to be useful to society and create a balance. A selfish society is doomed to perish under its own weight, and when that system collapses, everyone, along with the elite rich who thought they were untouchable, gets crushed under it. Coming to the present day, what Ghazali said looks less like medieval philosophy and more like an X-ray of our current situation. We are in a global economy where money moves much faster than its capacity to comprehend. Wealth inequality continues to exist all over the world. Markets enrich the speculator far more than the producer. As years pass, trust in institutions declines. Inflation secretly steals what is in our pockets. Financial bubbles inflate, burst, and then repeat again and again. Take a look around you. Everything Ghazali predicted and criticized stands right before us on a global scale. The critique of hoarding is identical to today's debates over billionaires, offshore accounts, and wealth hubs. What amazes a person is that the world has hardly changed at all. Technology advanced, speed increased, scale grew, but human core drives never changed. If Ghazali were alive today, looking at the mountainously growing debts, speculation frenzies threatening abysses and institutional distrust, he would most likely repeat that sentence he wrote 900 years ago, where justice ends, prosperity cannot hold on. What drags us into crisis is not an abstract mathematical gap, but human anxiety, human greed, and the desire to get rich without labor. Ghazali's message turns into a life lesson. If money comes before morality, that system will eventually shatter. Understanding this is not just taking a lesson in economics, it is protecting your family and your future. Because they say history does not repeat itself, but if you do not learn lessons, it knows very well how to turn back and run you over. If this content has provided you with any value, don't forget to subscribe to the channel.